powdered wig and hold onto your bonnet. It's time for the American Revolution. It's the rootin' origin story of a scrappy settler rebellion that took on the biggest empire on earth and somehow won. What started as a tax tantrum turned into a full-scale war for independence, starring a bunch of farmers, smugglers, and lawyers cosplaying as Roman senators. Let's find out how 13 unruly colonies told King George to take his tea and shut it. It kicks off with money. Note, these stories usually do. After the 7 Years' War, Britain was broke. Colonies, still booming. So London decided the Americans should help foot the bill. Enter the Stamp Act, the Tea Act, and a whole stack of taxes were introduced to recoup some cash. To the crown, it was revenue. To the colonists, tyranny, with extra paperwork. In response, Americans started doing what they do best. They turned up the volume and got loud. No taxation without representation became the catchphrase of the disgruntled elite. Also, they dressed up as Mohawk warriors, boarded British ships, and launched 342 chests of tea into Boston Harbor. Britain reacted like any empire would, with threats and soldiers. The intolerable acts shut down Boston. Colonists doubled down. In for a penny, in for a pound, as the British say. April 1775. Lexington and Concord. The British came to seize weapons. Instead, they got ambushed by farmers who'd been waiting for this moment since the tea hit the water. Someone fired the shot heard round the world. Nobody knows who. But once it rang out, there was no going back. Enter George Washington, planter, general, man of few words and fewer facial expressions. The Continental Army, underfed, undertrained, under in everything. They lost early battles, then lost some more, but Washington kept them together. Christmas 1776. Washington crosses the Delaware, surprises a bunch of hungover Hessians at Trenton. It wasn't a massive battle, but it was the comeback moment. Morale soared. So did Washington's reputation. Meanwhile, on July 4, 1776, Thomas Jefferson sat down and wrote America into existence. The Declaration of Independence wasn't just political, it was poetic, with a tinge of irony. The War of Independence raged on. The British took cities, but couldn't break the spirit. Then came the big break, France. Ben Franklin worked his charm in silk stockings and bifocals, convincing Louis XVI to send ships, money, and troops. Because nothing says republic like teaming up with an absolute monarchy to fight a constitutional monarchy. The war tipped. Saratoga proved the Americans could win. Yorktown proved the British could lose. 1781. Yorktown. British General Cornwallis got boxed in by Washington on land and the French Navy at sea. He surrendered. The band played The World Turned Upside Down because, yeah, it was. 2 years later, the Treaty of Paris was signed. The United States of America was officially born, a messy, divided, debt-ridden republic, but free, kinda. Not everyone got liberty. The enslaved stayed enslaved. Indigenous nations were ignored or attacked. Women? Thanks for sewing the flags, ladies. So yeah, the revolution wasn't universal. But it was revolutionary. And here's the kicker. Washington gave up power. Twice. Once after the war. Once after 2 terms as president. That made him the GOAT. Because real power is knowing when to walk away in the interest of the nation. The American Revolution wasn't clean. It was bloody, hypocritical, inspiring, and deeply flawed. But it proved that people could challenge a king and change the world, even if that world would take centuries to catch up to its own ideals. Was it worth it? Depends who you were. But if you've ever voted, spoken out, or cracked a joke about your leaders without getting jailed, You're living in the aftershock. Freedom, baby. Freedom. But for how long?